Is Minnesota preparing for riots over a potential Derek Chauvin pardon? On today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Paskalides, we'll talk about Minnesota leaders bracing for unrest amid speculation over a Chauvin pardon, highlights from Donald Trump's recent speech in Saudi Arabia, Qatar Airways' massive $200 billion order from Boeing jets, David Hogg is finally removed as the DNC vice chair, Summer Lee's controversial reparations bill in Pennsylvania, Steak and Shake to start accepting Bitcoin, and Disney blew it once again with Snow White. All that and much more coming up on today's episode of America Unfiltered with James Paskalides, starting now.
The moment is here. This is our moment.
America, we are back, baby. Welcome to episode 53 of America Unfiltered with James Paskalides. Our first topic is Minnesota bracing for riots over a potential Chauvin pardon. Governor Tim Walz, the Minnesota National Guard, Mayor Jacob Frey, and the county sheriff, Anna Witt, have been briefed on preparations for possible civil unrest if Donald Trump pardons former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for his federal convictions related to what they call the killing of George Floyd. I personally do not think he was responsible for killing George Floyd. The facts show that he was not responsible for the killing of George Floyd. I want to go over some of these with you right now, the facts of the case. We all saw a 11-minute long video of Derek Chauvin with his knee on George Floyd's neck as George Floyd was able to say, "I can't breathe." We all watched this video and we all thought the same thing. That is terrible. That is something that should not happen. That is something that is not okay. Why did it happen? What motivated it? As more facts came out, it really became interesting. We found out that George Floyd was saying, "I can't breathe," while he was sitting in the back of the cop car long before the police took him out at his own request and put him on the ground in a move that the Minneapolis Police Department taught Derek Chauvin to do to restrain an individual. So what Derek Chauvin did when he put his knee on the back of George Floyd's neck was a move that was taught by the Minneapolis Police Department. So he was doing nothing more than what he was instructed to do as a police officer. That's one of the first red flags. Another red flag is George Floyd was already saying he can't breathe when he was just sitting in the car. He was obviously just looking for attention. And the third biggest fact is the autopsy report showed that Derek Chauvin played zero factor in George Floyd's death. The autopsy report showed that while he was being arrested, at the same time, he was having a fentanyl overdose. He had a very deathly amount of fentanyl in his system, which is a very sad case. It has nothing to do with Derek Chauvin arresting this individual and having his knee on the back of his neck, which was a tactic taught by the Minneapolis Police Department. I really think that Derek Chauvin is innocent. There was a lot of political pressure on the jury to convict. Joe Biden had already tweeted out that Derek Chauvin was guilty before the jury even convicted him. If that doesn't show you the political pressure to convict this individual, I hope that he is able to get pardoned. It is really sad that we have to talk about possible civil unrest if he does get pardoned. The autopsy report literally showed that he did not kill George Floyd, that he was not responsible for killing George Floyd. So why are people going to go burn down their city again the same way they did after George Floyd died? What do you gain from burning down your own city and houses and businesses? You lose a lot. Anyone who's burning down a CVS, burning down a house, burning down anything in protest of something the police did, which was actually a correct thing they did, is just an animal. It doesn't matter what race you are, what religion you are, or who you are. You're an animal if you decide to burn buildings down and cause civil unrest because you don't agree with the law, because you don't agree with what happened. That is just immature, that's childish, and it shows that you didn't have good parents when you were growing up. I want to talk about Trump's Middle East tour, his vision for peace and prosperity in the United States and in the Middle East. In Saudi Arabia, President Donald Trump announced yesterday that they are lifting the U.S. sanctions on Syria and extended an offer to Iran for negotiations over its nuclear program. He urged Saudi Arabia to also join the Abraham Accords, emphasized a shift in U.S. foreign policy towards economic cooperation rather than intervention, and he highlighted that there will be a $600 billion pledge from the Saudis to the United States in an investment. This is a huge win for the United States, huge win for the United States taxpayer, and a huge win for the world as well. If Trump can create even 10% more peace than there currently is in the Middle East, that's a massive win for the world, but I estimate it will be a lot more than 10%. I think Donald Trump is an excellent negotiator. Leaders respect his ability to negotiate and how he's not just going to bend over the way Joe Biden did. Everybody used and abused Joe Biden because he was a terrible president who didn't know how to run things, didn't understand how an economy worked, and did not understand how to deal with foreign relations or protecting our home country. Donald Trump understands all this and much more. He is a very strong leader, negotiator-in-chief, and commander-in-chief. I'm very glad we have Donald Trump at the wheel of this one right now. And it also brings me to another thing that happened with Qatar Airways signs historic $200 billion Boeing deal. During President Donald Trump's visit to Qatar, Qatar Airways signed a deal to purchase 160 Boeing jets valued at approximately $200 billion, making it the largest order in Boeing's history. This deal underscores the renewed confidence in American manufacturing and the strength of U.S. diplomacy under Donald Trump. It represents a significant boost for the U.S. economy and the job market and potential new business dealings with Qatar. I really think Donald Trump is doing right by the American people and the American taxpayer. I love everything Donald Trump is doing, and I'm going to continuously support him as he goes down this correct path. I want to go on to our next topic today. This is one that excites me so much. I talked about it weeks ago how I wanted this to happen, and it finally did. I feel like David Portnoy popping a champagne bottle with someone's name written on it. But David Hogg finally ousted as DNC vice chair. The Democratic National Committee voted to void David Hogg's election as vice chair due to procedural issues. That's what they called it, at least. What I like to call it is, he's an idiot. David Hogg is a moron. David Hogg is nothing more than a race-mongering, fear-mongering loser on social media. David Hogg became big on social media after the Parkland shooting. He attended Parkland schools during the shooting. He took a very strong anti-Second Amendment stance after that. He was paid a lot by Democrats to take these stances. They blew up his social medias. They put him on all kinds of news networks as this traumatized child. And I do understand he did suffer through a school shooting. That is a very traumatic experience. It is not a reason to take away our Second Amendment rights. That would only make school shootings worse, actually, because it would just leave guns in the hands of criminals and not in the hands of law-abiding citizens. But David Hogg is an absolute moron. He's someone who should have never been elected to the DNC vice chair. They elected him because all the other candidates are actually worse than him. The Democratic Party is falling apart right in front of our eyes. They've gone far too woke, and if you don't walk with them, you're not with them at all. If you don't support every crazy lunatic idea that the Democrats support, they don't want you to be a part of their party. They're destroying their own party right in front of their eyes. But as a Republican and a conservative, I love it. I want the Democrats to keep going on the path they're going on. I am glad they fired David Hogg because I hate the kid so much. He's such a moron, and it's embarrassing for our country to have someone like that in such a high role. Again, they're just going to elect someone else like him. They're just going to keep destroying themselves. I can't imagine the Democrats are going to elect a very sane person. Right now, they're talking about AOC, Bernie, or I don't even know. Those are the presidential candidates, and Kamala for 2028. They're awful. The best one you guys have right now is Stephen A. Smith, and he has nothing to do with politics. He's an NBA reporter. I love Stephen A. Smith personally. Huge NBA fan, as you can see my Celtics flag right back here. I really don't think Stephen A. Smith has it in him to be a presidential candidate. I don't think he has it in him to run foreign relations and the border and the economy. Yes, he's very good at analyzing things. He is a very smart, quick individual with thought, but he is over-emotional, and he has no political experience, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but when you know nothing about big businesses, when you know nothing about the border and foreign policy, it's going to lead to a Joe Biden situation where every country is taking advantage of us. It's something that we cannot have. So I'm very glad David Hogg has been fired as the DNC vice chair. He was an awful pick to start with. I reported on it from the day he was elected. He is an absolute moron. I'm going to go on to our next topic, and it's another moronic thing by liberals. Representative Summer Lee introduces a reparations bill in Pennsylvania. People who were never slaves want to be paid money by people who never owned slaves. Representative Summer Lee, along with other Democrats, introduced a bill to establish a commission to study and consider reparations for descendants of slaves. The proposal to pay reparations to individuals who were never enslaved by individuals who never owned slaves is fundamentally flawed. The bill exemplifies the left's focus on divisive identity politics rather than unifying policies. The left loves to say diversity is our strength. They repeat it, they scream it out at the podium. Kamala Harris loved to say it. Diversity is not our strength. I've never heard one winning football team say diversity is our strength. I've never heard one championship, Olympic anything say diversity is our strength. No, unity is your strength. Unity, coming together, no matter who you are and what you look like, is your strength. Not diversity, unity. I don't know why Democrats want to push diversity and want to push all this separation on us. Unity. We need to come together more. We need to stop teaching critical race theory. We need to stop teaching kids because they're a different race that they have it worse. We need to stop teaching kids that if they're not white, middle-income families, they'll do nothing with their lives, because that is what is wrong with America today. Democrats have ruined the education system for kids. They have ruined the political system currently, and they're currently trying to introduce reparations. People who never were slaves want to get money from people who never owned slaves. One of the most ridiculous statements ever. I really hope that this fails. I'll keep you guys updated as more time goes on that. We're going to go on to our next topic here. Steak and Shake to accept Bitcoin nationwide. Starting May 16th, Steak and Shake will consider accepting Bitcoin as payment at all of its U.S. locations, marking one of the largest fast food Bitcoin integrations to date. I think all fast food chains should do this. I think all businesses over time should slowly start being able to accept Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is the future. I think one day Bitcoin, as it gets adopted by more banks, more governments, and things like that, it will get to a point where it's going to become so valuable. This is not investment advice, but I'm personally a big believer that we'll see an upwards of $10 million Bitcoin in our lifetime. I am a buyer of Bitcoin. I'm a holder of Bitcoin. I think more people should be continuously buying Bitcoin. I love Steak and Shake as well. They have excellent fries, excellent food, excellent service. Not always it might be a Waffle House type establishment. You might have some crazy characters in there every now and then, but nonetheless, excellent food for a fast food chain. They're all over Florida, and I personally love Steak and Shake, and I'm glad that they're accepting Bitcoin now. I want to talk about our last topic for the day. Disney's Snow White bombs at the box office, not once, but twice now. Disney's live-action remake of Snow White has underperformed at the box office, grossing only $145 million worldwide against a $200 million budget. I'm thinking because I wanted this project to fail so bad. I hate woke remakes. It's a loss of over $50 million on a Snow White movie. This was a walk in the park. All they had to do was remake the original movie, not change anything, and they could have grossed billions. But no, they wanted to go woke. She didn't want to be saved by a prince anymore because a woman doesn't need no man, according to Rachel Ziegler. It's crazy. The prince didn't kiss her to wake her up. They didn't even call them dwarves because that's offensive now. I'm so glad this movie failed. I'm glad that their attempt to modernize classic tales has failed. It's alienated audiences. It's resulted in financial losses. The failure of Snow White is a cautionary tale against prioritizing political agendas over storytelling. Snow White is an all-time classic. Little girls watched it growing up, hoping that their Prince Charming would find them one day. Boys wanted to be that Prince Charming. Now they away the whole story. The entire thing that made Snow White. She was asleep or poisoned, and the prince brought her back to life, and that just didn't happen in this Snow White. It's one of the most ridiculous things. I really hate woke media. I hate woke Hollywood. I hate how movies are awful now. I miss the days of going to the movies with your friends, seeing something and laughing for 2 hours straight. Now it is miserable to watch a movie that just comes out. Almost all of them are awful. We just had a movie where Robert De Niro played two of the main characters. Like, this guy can't even remember 6 sentences, and he's playing 2 main characters. I love Robert De Niro in all his old mafia movies. I hate his politics, but it is crazy to me the state of movies right now because of woke Hollywood. I'm James Paskalides. This is episode 53 of America Unfiltered. I'm signing off today. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.